is John Colo with growingyourgreens.com. Today we have another exciting episode for you. We're here at Gilcrease Orchard in Las Vegas, Nevada, that grows fruits and vegetables all season long. The season here in Las Vegas for growing food primarily, and when this farm operates, is spring, summer, and fall, right? They end up with growing pumpkins, which actually funds most of their farm because that's the busiest time of year here. During pumpkin season, they tend to have actually very other little fruits and vegetables to harvest. In the springtime, they have leafy greens, carrots, and beets. And then right now we're in June. It was like 100 degrees at 9 o'clock when I got here. They close at 10 o'clock every day. They are open Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays from like 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. I definitely encourage you guys to support your local farms. You know, some things I come to Gilcrease and buy because I don't have the space or I don't want to grow them myself. And actually one of them that we're going to be talking about today is tomatoes. Tomatoes can be particularly challenging to grow here in Las Vegas, depending on your growing practices. And I like to not use a shade cloth myself. All my crops do great. I do grow some cherry tomatoes. That being said, I come to the professionals when I want my tomatoes. I pick my tomatoes here. And you know, that's what I want you guys to learn from this episode. No matter where you live in the country, I want you guys to visit your local farms to find out what they're doing, what is successful for them. Most farms are for profit. And if they're not selling their crops, they're not gonna make money and they're gonna go bankrupt. So generally they grow the crops, they're gonna perform really well in your specific area, and then you could learn, hey, the farm grows these things, these varieties, I'm gonna grow these varieties so I could be as successful as the farm is. And that's what brings me to Gilcrease Orchard today, to show you guys their tomatoes, right? They've been growing tomatoes for, I don't even know, 20 plus years. I've been coming here for 20 plus years now. It seems like I knew Mr. Gilcrease when he was still alive. Nowadays, this is like a non-profit foundation to continue on his work and his legacy of growing food here in Las Vegas, where people think it is not possible. Of course, they have plenty of fruit trees. They also have plenty of vegetables as well. But anyways, what I want to do next is head down to the tomato fields and show you guys the best heat-tolerant tomatoes to grow here in Vegas or other areas around the entire world. All right, guys, as you guys can see, we're here at Gilcrease in their fields where they grow the vegetable crops. This year is the first year they actually put up a shade structure over all the areas where they normally grow the vegetables. You know, I've been coming here for, I don't even know, like 20 years now. And this is the best year I've ever seen for their vegetables, especially their tomatoes. Normally, like if you don't get the tomatoes right when they start to ripen up, the vines get all messed up by this time when it's over 100 degrees. They're fried and you don't get any tomatoes. And then they just basically plant like zucchini and cucumbers that don't necessarily require the shade cloth. This year, because they put up the shade cloth, their tomatoes are just going gangbusters. There's more tomatoes here than they could even sell. So in this episode, what I'm gonna do with you guys is show you guys the best heat-tolerant varieties of tomatoes you can grow. Today, it's like 9 o'clock a.m. It's already 100 degrees. Yesterday, we hit 110 degrees. It's always in the, like this whole week is all in the 105s, 109s, whatever, you know, so it is still possible to grow tomatoes in the extreme heat. For these varieties specifically, you will need a shade cloth. That being said, tomatoes are not my #1 crop I grow here in Las Vegas myself. I do grow cherry tomatoes without any shade cloth that perform reasonably well for me. But if you want to grow like heirlooms or something like that, then you probably definitely need more shade cloth and more protection. The other thing I will say is that all the varieties except for one variety they're growing here are hybrid type varieties that have been specifically designed for the heat. So actually let's go over there and show you guys each of the different varieties and a little bit more about them. All right guys, so you guys can see here's all the tomatoes growing at Gilcrease. And besides tomatoes, they grow lots of other crops under the shade here, so it's easy for you to pick and the plants don't get super stressed out because of the heat. They perform better as well. They have things like cucumbers, zucchini, butternut squash. They have like Armenian cucumbers, the striped and just the light green kind, some pickling cucumbers. They also have some suyo cucumbers. Also, they have the eggplant, and honestly, guys, I grow more eggplant than tomatoes because eggplant, you don't even need a shade cloth. And of course, they got all the tomatoes, 6 to 7 varieties. So we'll go over each of the varieties. This is a Jolene variety, and you could see it's just like a row. This row is like super long. I don't even know how long it is, maybe as long as a football field. Till I get to the other side, you score a touchdown. But guess what? If you walk to the other side, that's where you're gonna find the ripe tomatoes, because everybody stays on this side when they're harvesting. And if we look on this side, they're basically all green. But if you walk down at least halfway or more, there's a lot of red ones down there, right? So yeah, lots of green ones. And I'm gonna show you guys each of the varieties and some of the history behind them. So this is a Jolene. This is a determinate slicer tomato. Fruits are usually about 8 to 10 ounces, and this is ready in 73 days after transplant. This is a reliable fruit set in hot weather. You know, that's why they chose it here. All these varieties really do well and are designed for hot weather. And supposedly this is bred by Johnny Select Seeds to combine high flavor with strong disease resistance and perform in warm climates, developed for home and market growers. All right, and so we're gonna go ahead and go over each of them, and then I'm gonna go ahead and then pick a few, and I'm also gonna rate the vines. You guys can see these plants look very healthy here. They are definitely not certified organic, but they use a regular conventional fertilizer, but they do add some kelp in there to kind of give their plants a boost, as far as I'm aware. But you know, I mean, even for 110 degrees yesterday, 100 degrees today, these plants are doing pretty good. Uh-oh, looks like they got some hornworm damage there. Wondering about that. But yeah, these plants look amazing. I like some of the plants that stay more compact, and some of them just kind of get more tall and unruly. You know, they have a kind of a string and stake system, as you guys could see. My opinion would they should be going at least another couple feet taller. Looks like they maybe got up to 4 feet. Maybe going up to 6 feet would be better, because some of the other plants are getting a little bit taller. But you know, of course, all these plants are for the most part determinates. So you know, they're not just going to keep growing and growing and growing. All right, this next row here is a Florida 47. This is a determinate beefsteak variety, 8 to 10 ounce, fruit size 70 to 75 days. And this was released by the University of Florida as a heat and humidity tolerant commercial tomato for southern growers. It's basically built for tropical climates, right? So here in Vegas, it also does quite well, even though we don't have the humidity. You guys can see, all we see is a field of green. Next up, we have the STM 2255. This is an F1 hybrid as well, determinate slicer. And the history on this is developed by Cicada Seeds for the southeastern United States, known for combining large fruit, good shelf life, and broad disease resistance. And this is bred for hot to hot cycles. And once again, as you guys can see, we're all successful. And that's the thing, they're not growing varieties that are good for like Portland, Oregon, or San Francisco, where, you know, you need tomatoes there that actually probably made from grown in Russia. They're gonna do better in the cold weather and will set fruit in cold without any heat. All right, guys, next row we have basically a mix of cherry tomatoes. So we don't have any specific cultivars listed, but in general, cherry tomatoes grow a lot better here in Las Vegas. Of course, cherry tomatoes also are indeterminate, which means they continue to grow and grow and grow. The plants do get long and lanky and crazy, but you get a lot more tomatoes from them. Of course, the fruit size are a lot smaller, maybe half to 1 ounce or even 2 ounces. And generally they're riper a bit faster, from 55 to 65 days. And you know, they're one of the most cultivated types. You know, they're generally sweeter, they're more delicious in my opinion. You know, if you get one big tomato and the bugs get it, you can't eat it. But on cherry tomatoes, you always have a lot of fruit to eat a lot more often. So definitely for home growers, that's what I'd recommend. And that's what I grow here, because even without shade cloth, it performs quite well. All right, next cultivar we got is Marianna F1. The Marianna F1 is a Roma type tomato. So if you want Romas to make sauces and stuff, this is it. The Marianna F1. This is determinate Roma type, 5 to 6 ounces. These fruits are looking really nice. Of course, this is the side where they've been all picked over and looks like Some of these fell over because they weren't tied up properly. But nonetheless, this was created by Syngenta. So if you're against GMO, you might not want to support or buy these tomatoes because Syngenta is owned by Monsanto. Anyways, this is not a GMO seed, but it's grown for commercial growers in hot, dry climates like California, Mexico. High solids make it excellent for paste. So yeah, you guys want to make some tomato paste, this would be it, and it thrives in arid zones such as we are in now. All right, the next variety I'm going to talk about today is actually the farmer's favorite, Farmer Mark, his favorite here. He's been growing this one for many years at Gilcrease, and you know, without a shade cloth, with a fairly good success. These also have a fairly good flavor, and these are also determinate style, plum style tomato, 6 to 8 ounces, and it's about 70 days to fruit, and it's bred by BHN Research in Florida for high yields, firmness, and resistance to different kinds of viruses under heat stress. So it's ideal for scorching summers. So you guys can see as I walk through, you know, we just basically got tomato vines and tomatoes hiding on all sides. All right, last tomato variety up is the Thunderbird. And I mean, they on these signs they give you, it says best when they're at full color, hold tomato and give a gentle twist to remove it. They will continue ripening after harvesting. But basically they don't really tell you about each cultivar, what they taste like or anything like that. So that's why I'm making this video for you guys, because I'm gonna harvest them, taste test them, Brix test them, give you guys my opinions. But anyways, on a Thunderbird, this is also determinate style plum tomato, 8 to 12 ounces, 72 to 75 days, and it's developed by Sakata and adopted as a 2023 San Antonio Rodeo tomato, designed for extreme heat and virus resistance in the U.S. Southwest. And this is the top choice for 100+ degree weather. So as you guys can see, Lily, this farm is specializing in tomatoes grown for high heat. If you guys live in high heat, maybe it's not Vegas, maybe it's Phoenix, maybe it's somewhere else around the world where you have a hot climate, could be Florida, you know. Some of these varieties may do well for you. Maybe it's the tropics, you want to try growing tomatoes in the tropics because it's always hot, right? Then maybe one of these tomatoes would be good for you. And but then the other thing is, how do we know which one is going to taste the best? And that's what I wanted the other day. I came here the other day, picked a bunch of tomatoes, like I don't know what's going to taste best. And so this day I'm going to actually test to see which one tastes best, so that all you guys that live here in Vegas will know which one tastes best, and all of you guys want to grow them yourself will know which varieties to take to grow that taste best, because we're just talking about heat tolerance, but you know, flavor is also very important. Yeah, it's great to have a heat tolerant variety that produces a lot of tomatoes, but if they don't taste like anything, it's no better than a store-bought tomato, right? So let's go down the row, and I'm just gonna go ahead and harvest some of the different tomatoes, and then we're gonna sit down and rate them. Guys, you see that? It's an organic farm. There's a bunny. It's probably snacking on these very tomatoes. All right, guys, so I'm here in one of the rows. I've walked down pretty much like 85% of the row, where I'm at the other end. Finally, at this end, this is where we're seeing like a lot of ripe tomatoes. If you look pretty closely, of course, there's lots of ones that are not quite ripe. These are the STNs on this side, and this is the Florida 47s on this side. So we're just gonna go ahead and try to find a ripe one here. I think that one in the back, I mean, of course, you could harvest them when they're like this. To me, this is not ripe. This might ripen up at your house. But I'm gonna, you know, that one's not quite ripe. This one back here to me looks like it's got a nice deep red color, but it's on the back side. So let's see if I could kind of get it out. All right, so we got it. So this is a good representative size. Maybe we could get one a little bit larger. There are ones larger here, but this one to me looks more ripe, and I'm going for the ripeness. So after we harvest it, I'm then gonna go ahead and put a sticker on it so I know which one it is. This is the Florida 47. All right, let's go ahead and look for a ripe STM variety. As you guys can see, I mean, the outside doesn't look too good. Just go on the inside. If you guys just push some of these branches away, you guys can see there's like all kinds of ripe tomatoes in there. Like there's so many tomatoes here, guys, it's insane. That's one of the reasons why I'm making this video, so you guys could be aware of this. You guys could come here and get the best tomatoes in Las Vegas or grow them yourself, all right? So yeah, this one, just, I mean, there's a whole bunch of these on here. Hard to try to pick the ripest one. Yeah, this is a nice size. All right, I think I'm gonna go for this one. Pretty much dropped off in my hands. The STM, look at that. This is a beauty. Looks good on all the sides. So we're gonna go ahead and put that in our box, label it STM, all right? I got a bunch more to pick. All right, guys, so next up we're picking cherries and Jolene's. They have several different varieties of cherry tomatoes planted. No cultivars are listed. So yeah, we're just gonna go over here because I could see lots of cherry tomatoes. You gotta look kind of close because the vines kind of hide them all. You guys can see we got some stripe ones here. Looks like they're fairly ripe. See right there. And then they're down all in here. So we're gonna pick probably a couple up. A couple over here. All right, comes off easy. All right, got a couple cherries. Over on this side, we got Jolene's. As you guys can see, they're quite productive. There's just so many tomatoes. These are all green, and we're probably about 25% of the way down the aisle. The aisle is like a one-way or two-way aisle. There's no like cutoff point in the middle, so you can't enter it like halfway or exit halfway. You got to either come in the way you came or walk all the way back the other direction. Oh, I'm seeing a lot more cherry tomatoes down here too. Can't resist, got to pick a couple more. All right, guys, we're halfway down the Jolene aisle, and I'm starting to see a few ripe ones in there if you look really close. When you harvest tomatoes, they do make your hands itchy, so you definitely will want to wash them. They do have washing stations, and or bring some gloves. Tomatoes should come off the vine very easily when they're ripe. You shouldn't have to pull or tug them too hard or require any kind of cutters. All right, so we're here maybe 60% way down the aisle, and now I'm seeing a lot more ripe tomatoes to harvest. So let's go ahead and grab a few. All right, guys, as you guys can see, lots of tomatoes here. Lots still growing and not ripening. Here's a whole bunch that are ripe. Looks like this one got a little bit of splitting there. But I think this guy back here, still a bit hard. This one over here looks pretty good. Let's go ahead and plug that guy. All right, here is a ripe Jolene. All right, now we're starting to walk down the aisle for the BHM on the right side, Marianna on the left side. And I'm just really impressed with the fruit set, guys. Like I can't even imagine, like there's so many fruits. Especially the Marianna looks like it has just like tons of little Romas on there, like all over. And then as you could see, this is why I recommend they'd have higher stakes, maybe at least 6 feet, man. We're walking through here and it's just kind of, you gotta like walk through them, and it just gets really thick if they're not tying them up, because they tied them up to a point, but then they basically kind of fall and curve over. So yeah, they need to go a bit higher, in my opinion, but you know, they're gonna do what they wanna do. Live and learn though. This is our first year growing tomatoes under the shade, you know, with the stake system. That's generally working really well. Some of the stakes I've noticed have fallen over when the tomatoes get too tall. But I mean, this is just incredible growth, guys. I mean, here in the desert, once again, we got the shade cloth all over us, so it's really pleasant to be in here. And as you guys can see, the tomatoes are just really pumping. They're just doing great. It's not like they're even growing in the desert, guys. Look at the flower set on this. This is the Marianna. It's insane. There's still, that one's still pumping flowers. I mean, over on the BHM side, it's still pumping flowers, but there's just not quite as many. They're more sparse flowers as it heats up. Of course, a lot of these fruits were set when the temperatures were a little bit cooler. You know, now we're at kind of the peak temperatures. So yeah. So as I'm seeing, like the Marianna is just pretty much doing so good. But anyways, I'm 30% way down the row, and you can see there's already just tons of the Marianna types, like just ripe and ready to be picked, like all over the place. People usually are lazy. They come and do 10 steps and they look for tomatoes, and they probably pick some that are like still like orange. But if they walk a little bit further, they'd be able to find some nice deep red ones that are ripe. Look at this, nice Roma tomatoes. Now Roma's in the store, guys, normally sells for less money. Maybe that's because they're more productive, But look at this, I mean, that's a nice little Roma. Yeah, that's not super large, but that's super deep red, guys. We're gonna pluck that off. And then maybe back here, seen another one. Nice deep red, pop that guy off, get him tagged up. All right, 2 nice little Marianneras. Could have got bigger ones, because there's definitely bigger ones. But yeah, I wanted to get some smaller ones. See what happens. All right, and then we're gonna flip to the other side. If we just, you know, go to the other side, I think people are intimidated with like all this overgrowing. So that's why like this row, I'm barely like 30% in, and like there's so many ripe tomatoes. Some of the rows maybe that are easier to walk, that aren't quite as fallen over, they're more picked through. But yeah, maybe that's a tip for you guys. Come through the rows that, oh my gosh, look at this, this is insane. More of these Marianneras. There's so many Marianera tomatoes here, it's insane. Anyways, we gotta pick these BHMs over on the back side. And once again, you know, we just move some of these vines away. Oh, there's a nice one. See how it looks. It could be a little bit riper. All right, let's go over here. Let's find a couple ripe ones for you guys and we'll test them. All right, guys, here we go. Look at this nice ripe one right here. All right, got a good one. Let's get one more here. Oh, that's a deep red right there. Where are we? There's so many tomatoes. It's so insane, dude, seeing this in Vegas. Some of those tomatoes I've ever seen growing in Vegas. All right, so we got 2 of the BHMs. Let's tag them up. All right, guys, last tomatoes we're harvesting are the Thunderbirds. As you guys can see, a lot of these are just kind of crawling over. They either fell down or didn't get strung up right, I think. Oh, and then you can see this is a stake down. I definitely think it's important, especially for farms. Maybe if you're at home, it doesn't matter so much. But at farms, to keep things upright. Otherwise, people, you know, that are U-pick here don't really care. They'll trample on stuff and it'll get messed up. Plus, I think the rows that tend to have more kind of like overgrowth, like people don't go down them too much because they see like it's blocking their pathway, and then they won't like step over stuff. And everybody thinks plants are toxic and you don't want to touch them. And I mean, I don't know. I think most people would avoid this row. But it's fine with me, I don't really care. I mean, yeah, tomatoes make me itchy, but just wash it off. You'll be fine. I guess the other thing I might say about these Thunderbird plants is that like, maybe they're falling over and they're getting kind of unruly because they didn't trellis them up enough, or they're falling out of the trellis. Anyways. And as you guys can see, I mean, some of these plants aren't definitely doing the greatest. Some of them are, I don't know, you know, sometimes the soil is a bit different in certain areas, or, you know, because both sides are Thunderbirds, and it's not like all the plants are messed up, but definitely the plant health, I would say, on the Thunderbirds are definitely more challenged for whatever reason than some of the rows. Once again, we are just growing in desert sandy soil with very low organic matter. You know, the farmer tries to improve it, but he basically used synthetic fertilizers and then tills, which, as we know, does not improve the soil health or organic matter. So, oh yeah, and I mean, over here, I mean, even the other row, I think that's a Marianera that looked pretty good on the other row. That side's not doing well, so this might be an area that has particularly bad soil. Nonetheless, let's go over to a nice green plant here and find some ripe tomatoes, since there are just tons of them hiding underneath the leaves. All right, here's some ripe Thunderbirds all the way back, hidden. That nice deep red Thunderbird tomato. Let's get one more off a different vine here. All right, another Thunderbird, slight splitting on the top, but I'm good with that. All right, guys, so I just got checked out here at Gilcrease, and these tomatoes I bought, it's the best price, guys. $1.50 a pound. I don't know where you guys can get fresh picked tomatoes. And the most important thing is you choose the ripeness. Nobody's like picking these for you. Of course, they may pick some and have them available at the farm stand if you don't want to get, you know, your hands dirty and pick them yourself and get the ripest ones. $1.50 a pound, amazing. And other thing, I mean, they're closing down now because I'm here late, but I want to tell you guys, don't arrive here at 9:30 and expect to pick tomatoes and come back, right? You guys want to get here early, and also, especially in the summertime, you guys want to beat the sun. You know, I garden in the morning and I usually get out and do all my earrings in the morning before it gets too hot. So if you want to come and pick tomatoes, I mean, get here bright and early at 7, you have the best crack, because here's the thing, they're open pretty much every other day. So if you get here at 7, that means nobody's touched those vines for like 1.5 days, and you're the first person that are gonna get the ripest tomatoes, okay? The other thing I wanna tell you guys is you wanna save your receipt, because at the gate, they're gonna check your receipt to make sure you bought all these delicious tomatoes. So what I'm thinking I'm gonna go ahead and do next is I'm gonna head home and we're gonna go ahead and Brix test and flavor test all these tomatoes so you guys will know the best ones. All right guys, so now we're at home. Now we're gonna go ahead and taste test and Brix test these tomatoes to find out which one is the best for hot climates. So first off, I do have a simple Brix meter here. These guys are available for under $20 if you guys want to get this Brix meter. Link down below to my Amazon shop, but we'll give you guys a heads up. They do make digital ones. I will say that I prefer analog ones better. They give you more information, not just the number, but also the demarcation line is either black and white, or you want it kind of cloudy, which shows a higher level of minerals in there. And I know a lot of you guys may be familiar with Brix. Unfortunately, most people familiar with Brix think it just measures the sugar content, which is actually not accurate. So we're gonna read off this chart from High Brix Gardens at aglabs.com or highbrixgardens.com. And it says, within a given species of plant, the crop with the higher refractive index, or Brix, will have a higher sugar content, higher mineral content, higher protein content, and a greater specific gravity or density. This adds up to a sweeter tasting, more minerally nutritious food with lower nitrate and water content, lower freezing point, and better storage attributes. I have other videos on Brix, links down below if I remember. But basically, based on standard crop testing, they have a chart here, which I have gotten kicked out of fruit festivals for revealing the Brix numbers. So anyways, there's always the fruit is listed, or even the vegetable is listed, or the grass is listed with a poor, average, good, or excellent rating. So on tomatoes, a poor tomato is 4, an average tomato is 6, a good tomato is 8, and an excellent tomato is 12. So what do you think these farm-grown tomatoes that you guys saw me pick are gonna rank out at? That's a good question. Let's find out. But before we do, we're gonna go ahead and just weigh out each of the tomatoes. You know, as you know, I picked out like 2 of each to kind of give me like a sample of, you know, me trying to pick the ripest ones. All right, so let's go ahead and weigh out the tomatoes. First up, the STM. It's 7.4 ounces STM. And you know, I just picked out random ones that I thought were fairly ripe, 7.5 ounces. All right, next up, we're gonna go ahead and weigh out the FL47, 5.3. The other Florida one, and I didn't pick these for size, I just picked them for ripeness, 7.2. Next up, Thunderbird, 6.8. 6.7. BHM, 6.3. It's BHN, sorry. And this one bigger, 7.7. Next up, the Jolene, 7.2. And 5.8. Next up, we got the Marianna 2.9, and the small one is 1.6. And of course, we got the cherries. I'll just pick the biggest ones, mixed varieties, so we don't really know. 1 ounce, 1.065. If you want to be precise, then I'll pick out one of the striped cherries, my favorites. 0.6. So as you guys can see, most of these tomatoes are pretty much the same size, you know, ranging around 6 to 7 ounces, which is solid performance. I will say that actually both of the Thunderbirds that I picked are split along the top, not necessarily a desirable trait. I didn't see if they were split or not, I just picked them for ripeness, so maybe when they're ripe they split more. I will say that one of the FL47 is also starting to split at the top. but all the other ones look good. But you know, to me, these all look like standard tomatoes, which is great because most people want standard tomatoes. Me, on the other hand, I want heirloom tomatoes. So they have grown Black Cherokee at the farm in the past, and maybe next year they're going to try to grow the Black Cherokees again. You know, heirlooms have a lot more complex flavors. Of course, heirlooms are cool because they're heirloom, but you know, for this particular climate, I would encourage the farm or people to just find heirloom tomatoes that were grown here in Nevada, or even like hot places like Phoenix from the olden days. And you know, I'm not aware of any of those. I'm sure there are some because a lot of the heirlooms seem to come from back east, which may not perform as well in the heat. Once again, this episode is dedicated to heat tolerant varieties. Of course, we got the standard Romas that are smaller, and then the cherries, which are my favorites. Actually, I got cherries planted in this bed, and everything else grew above them, and they're just kind of vining close to the ground, but they're actually still producing. Just had one earlier today. All right, next up, let's go ahead and get right into the Brix testing and my flavor testing. So for that, we're gonna need a knife. So guys, I recommend using a tomato knife. If you just use a regular knife on a tomato, you cut into it and it basically smushes out all the liquid everywhere. So I'm not a big fan. This is a special knife by Benchmark, and this is a ceramic knife, not made out of metal. It's not gonna cause any ion transfer. They are fragile. I break these all the time, so I buy a few extras. It is actually serrated, so it's easily gonna cut through the tomato. Of the two tomatoes, I'm gonna pick the ripest one that I see and test it out. So first up, we got the STM2255. We're just gonna go ahead and cut it in half. Look at that nice tomato there. Next up, we're gonna go ahead and put a little juice on the Brix meter. And look up at the sun. All right, wow. The Brix on that, it's like a 5.5 is what I'm gonna say. So according to the chart, it's basically just below average on the STM. 5.5, not a good Brix in my opinion. So next up, I'm gonna go ahead and taste this tomato, and I'm gonna rate it on a scale of 1 to 10, or maybe 0 to 10. I mean, it's got some acid flavor on there. It doesn't taste like the tomato. I mean, this one to me tastes like the tomato you get out of a store. Like, there's not a lot of flavor personally. I mean, it's the first one I'm tasting. I'm gonna say it's a 3, guys. Not super impressed with the STM. All right, next up, we got the FL47. Once again, let's cut this guy in half. And the Brix may vary based on ripeness. Of course, I'm trying to pick the ripest tomatoes that I picked today for you guys to test out. All right, okay, this one's a lot easier to read. This is definitely a solid 6. Florida 47, solid 6.0. Next up, let's go ahead and taste test it. To your health. A little bit less acid. To me, that's still a very, I mean, personally, flat tomato. These are probably grown for the heat tolerance, not necessarily flavor. I'm about to say that's like a 4. Maybe like a little bit better than the last one, but I'm still not super impressed. All right, next up, let's go for the Thunderbird. All right, get some juice. I mean, that's basically a 6 also. Thunderbird's a 6, and next let's go ahead and taste test the Thunderbird. I do like that the Thunderbird's a bit deeper red color, but once again, that could be because of the ripeness. I mean, to me, that's pretty watery, a little bit acid, like very low flavor. I mean, to me, that's another 4. All right, not doing too good here. All right, next up, the BHM. Higher hopes for this. All right, let's go ahead and taste test this one. I mean, that's like, to me, these have very low flavor for tomatoes, personally. All right, let's check the BHM. I mean, that's a solid 6. Or BHN. 6 on the Brix. I mean, flavor, I'm gonna say 4. I mean, these all have similar flavors, guys, so no matter which one you pick, like, to me, it doesn't really matter. I'm like not tasting any significant flavor difference, and as you guys can see, the Brixes are all in the same range, like 5.5 to 6. They're all pretty similar, actually. All right, next up, the Jolene. All right, let's check the Jolene, get some juice on there. I mean, that's pretty much a 6 again, guys. So according to the Brix test, you know, these are basically average tomatoes. And now let's taste test the Jolene. I mean, I did just eat a meal of figs before this, so my tongue's a bit burnt from the figs, but all these tomatoes, like, taste similar to the store-bought ones I'd get. Not super impressed. So it's a 6. I mean, the flavor, I'm gonna give it a 4. It's hard to say because they're just all so close. Like, yeah, they're all the same. Like the flavor, it's just, to me, it's just not giving me that tomato hit that I'm looking for. I mean, that's me personally. All right, next up, let's go ahead and try the Marianna, which is the Roma type. A little bit more firm. Get some of the juice out. I mean, it's another 6, guys. Like, that's insane. These are all Brixing out the same. I mean, they get the same fertilizer regimen. They get the same watering, like, times and regimen. I mean, to me, that flavor is like a 3. Like, I've never really liked Romas myself personally. Maybe if you're cooking them down, and if you're cooking all these down or dehydrating them, it'll definitely enhance the flavor because all these are quite water rich. So yeah, the Marianna to me is a 3. I think next up, let's go ahead and check maybe like 2 of these cherry tomatoes for fun. Maybe 3 of them because it looks like I got 3 different varieties. First up, these larger cherry tomatoes have a little bit funny shape to them. We don't know the variety names. Taste test to me is kind of acid. I mean, I'm gonna say it's similar Brix. I mean, it's like a 5.5 also. All right, next up, let's try the round cherries. And that's also at a 6. I mean, that one tastes a little bit better than the last one. All right, now this one is like some kind of like red striped cherry. Let's see, I think this one's a bit riper. I have higher hopes for this one. This may be like some kind of heirloom variety. Once again, it's still a 6. Like, all these tomatoes are pretty much 5.5, 6. To me, that's like, once again, another 4 on the flavor side. What am I tell you guys? Like, after taste testing all these, showing you guys how they're grown, knowing the growing practices, like, I'm gonna say these are the freshest tomatoes you will find in Vegas. All of them seem to perform pretty well. And no matter which one you buy, I mean, pick the ones you're gonna use it for. Like, if you want Romas, because you're gonna cook them down and sauce them or whatever. If you wanna eat them fresh, I'd probably pick the cherries. Of course, any of these other varieties, like, I really didn't see the flavor come out, right? And I mean, here's the thing, guys. Like, these are all hybrids. And hybrids oftentimes are grown so you can ship them, you can drop them. They don't crack, they have thicker skins, They are not likely selected for flavor, unfortunately. So you guys just learned how these tomatoes tasted. They're all pretty similar in my book. One didn't necessarily taste any better than the other. I would say find the ripest ones and maybe you're gonna have the best chance of them tasting better to you. You know, I grow tomatoes in my California garden where it's a more appropriate climate for tomatoes, and actually they taste amazing. I know what a good tomato should taste like. And these, while they were fresh and I picked them with my own 2 hands, they were just average tomatoes according to the Brix chart. You know, I think the reason for that, a few. Number one is the high heat, right? Tomatoes, while they have been bred to deal with the heat, maybe other flavor compounds are not present because it's not getting the fluctuation of, you know, the warm days and a little bit cooler nights. It's pretty much like hot days, hot nights. That's number one. Number two, of course, the growing practices will highly impact the Brix of the tomatoes. You know, for more information, you guys could visit aglabs.com or hybrixgardens.com. They have a whole foliar feeding regimen and nutrient regimen to basically raise the Brix of your plants. In general, the basics are there's certain minerals are not in the right proportions, the Brix may be lower. If you don't have the right soil biology in the soil, the Brix may be lower. The plants, you know, don't have all the nutrients they need or are stressed out more, the Brix can be lower. You know, I've visited my friends' gardens here in Vegas that are growing some amazing tasting tomatoes when they use the Brix Gardens products. You know, they tasted insane here in Vegas, so it is possible. I would definitely say at Gilcrease Orchard, it's a, you know, farm, a big scale farm, and it's more difficult for them to maybe cater to growing higher quality fruit, because just for them to get fruit, I think for them is a success. You know, I always demand for higher quality produce. So if I was the farmer, I would look into how can I increase the Brix, you know, not only of my tomatoes, but as well as my other crops. I'm sure there's some amendments or soil additives they could add into their, you know, drip system or watering system. That's how they currently feed their plants, through the irrigation system. I know they add kelp currently, but what else could they add? Maybe some humates or something, soluble humates or other soluble kelp or other products that might, you know, create a little bit better flavor profiles for the people. That being said, I know a lot of people in Vegas are not really picky about the produce, and I'm probably one of the exceptions because I'm used to very high quality produce. And although these are the tomatoes that I mostly eat, how I eat these, and I'll probably make a video on that, is basically I blend up all the tomatoes, about a pound's worth, and then I go around my garden and pick all my greens. So I blend the tomatoes with the greens. Tomatoes are pretty much in there for the liquid content, so my greens will blend up really. But yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it I got for this episode. Oh, other things I want to share with you guys is that all these tomatoes are grown under only 30% shade cloth, right? So that's like a very minimal amount of shade. Even a minimal amount of shade will drastically improve performance of some crops, such as tomatoes. And of course, another very important point is that these are direct seeded. They're not transplanted. They definitely start a little bit slower because they have to start them earlier in the year, but they find when they direct seed them, they're more resistant to diseases than if they transplant them in, okay? I guess other things that I evaluated too when I was at the farm, I took a look at the tomatoes, right? You know, you can see a lot of plants behind me. Got like peppers there, eggplants, and actually this bed has a lot of like bolting wild arugula, which is way better than standard arugula, which would bolt, flower, and be done. The wild arugula has been bolting very slow, so there's always these tops as well as leaves I can harvest and eat. Nonetheless, I have a category of unruly growth, which means, you know, to me it means like tomatoes just kind of grow crazy and you got to basically do a lot more maintenance to them. You know, the faster they grow, the more you have to clip them up, stake them up, worry about where they're growing, all these things, unless you have like tons of space to let them like creep out and crawl over the ground. So I prefer more compact tomatoes that don't grow as fast, like patio tomatoes, which also have very little to no flavor when I've grown them in the past. So I want to rank the tomatoes on unruly growth. Basically, the cherry tomatoes have the most unruly growth because they are indeterminates. They just keep growing. And then all the other tomatoes, Thunderbird, Marianna, Jolene, had about an 8 of 1 to 10. So they were like growing past the 4-foot point mark on the stakes that are staking them up, and then they're kind of growing up and over, kind of getting into the aisleways. Next up was a BHN, wasn't quite as unruly as the others, and then the Florida 47 and the STM 2255 were the most compact plants, you know, that didn't get super crazy growing. All right, so I did want to let you guys know about that. So in the end, is there one of these tomatoes that are my favorite for growing in the hot heat? You know, I would say they all seem to do pretty good. And I'd say try them, because these are some of the best, and that's why they tried them, right? They're trying them so that they could see if there's like one that really outperforms the other, or one that doesn't perform as well. And all the tomatoes that they were growing to me look like they're performing pretty well. You know, maybe a few rows of the Thunderbirds kind of look like, you know, wasn't doing too good. So I don't know if that was a particular area on the farm or the actual genetics of the seed that were not as quite disease resistant, all right? So I think finally we're gonna throw up on the screen for you guys this graph, or table, which is basically the Las Vegas tomato variety summary. So you can see all the different varieties, Jolene, Florida, 47, STM, 2255, BHN, 964, Marianna, Thunderbird, Cherry, if they're determined or indeterminate, how many days to fruit, the fruit size, and the heat tolerance according to online metrics, and the best uses. So these are the tomatoes you want to try for the heat. They all have performed well, although I hope you guys would use better growing practices to make a better flavor, all right? So in the end, is this gonna change how I grow my tomatoes in full sun? Absolutely not. I'm not about to put up any shade cloth to deal with shade cloth and to restrict the sunlight to my other crops that love full sun. I will continue to grow a few tomatoes, mostly cherry tomatoes here and there in random spots as like an understory, you know, in shadier parts of my yard, so I don't have to shade them, and I'll still get decent yields that way. I really hope that you guys enjoyed this episode today, learning about all the different kinds of tomatoes that can be grown in 100+ degree weather and still produce reliable crops, and how they tasted when they were grown on this particular farm with these particular fertilizer and nutrient and watering inputs. Of course, they might be stronger tasting if they're like dry farm, but then if you dry farm too much here, they're gonna burn up. So yeah, you gotta have the right conditions for that. So if you guys enjoyed this episode learning about tomatoes today, please be sure to give a big thumbs up. More importantly, share this with other people that are curious about the most heat tolerant tomatoes that are on the market, so you can grow them for a commercial farm or even just at home to have standard sized tomatoes that could handle the heat. Also, be sure to click that subscribe button right down below so you don't miss my new and upcoming episodes. I've committed 5 to 7 days. You know, to wash her up what you'll be learning on my YouTube channel. Make sure you click the little bell so you're notified as many videos come out. And also be sure to check my past episodes. The past episodes are wealth of knowledge. Over 1,700 episodes at this time on this channel dedicated to teaching you how to grow your own food at home, especially if you guys live here in the desert like I do. Links down below to my videos in the past that I made with my personal garden tour, so you guys can see what I grow every summer, every winter to succeed in this climate here. And as you'll see, my summer episodes, I grow very few, if any, tomatoes. So with that, my name is John Kohler with GrowingYourGreens.com. We'll see you next time, and until then, remember, keep on growing.